let's go ahead and jump right into the main story, the main topic of the day. The Supreme Court handed down a 6-3 decision that could ultimately affect the lives of millions of Americans and millions of people who, frankly, want to be American. And maybe they deserve to be American. Who's to say they are or they aren't? But the decision came down from the Supreme Court limiting the court's abilities to issue nationwide injunctions. So, Lev, can you explain to our audience how that affects birthright citizenship?
Well, I mean, they basically took a sledgehammer, and that's what I wrote in my Substack earlier today. They took a sledgehammer to the 14th Amendment. I mean, there's a
Yeah,
paragraph in the 14th Amendment that says very simply, all persons born, naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States
yeah,
and of the state wherein they reside. That's basically gone because now it doesn't apply to the whole country. Now we're gonna go state by state. Basically, is which how is what the Supreme Court basically said a determination. So they took a sledgehammer to it, but which we've been seeing part of Donald Trump's. But when we come to immigration, when we talk about immigrants, this whole country's built on immigrants. You're an immigrant. I'm an immigrant. Hell, Donald Trump's both his wives are immigrants. If you take a look at, I mean, his kids are. I mean, he is an immigrant. His parents were immigrants. So I mean, it's how
yeah,
far down your lineage you want to go. I mean, this is America's based on immigrants, and to do this attack, and that's why I say and I write and I say it's very important. Donald Trump is just the face of this movement. It's a lot bigger, Berkeley. That it's a lot bigger. That you got people like the running are Stephen Miller, Russell Vaught,
yeah,
people that are controlling Project 2020. This is all part of that. All of these are the different things you're watching play out, and this is just one of them. It's attack on our Constitution. It's attack on our rights. It's attack on humanity. And as a citizen, as somebody that loves our country, I mean, I can't. It's something disgusting to think as a father. I mean, let's talk about we're parents, folks, and let's think
yeah,
about what this just enabled Donald Trump to do. There's kids out there that did nothing wrong, that probably are some of the brightest, love this country more than anybody, more than Donald Trump, and are willing to serve for it, die for it, were born in this country. It doesn't matter how they got here. If their parents got here, but it's no fault of their own, but they're here. They were born. They don't know any other country. They don't speak any other language. They've never been anywhere else. This is their home. And now Donald Trump could basically, the court said, go take them out of their house, their school, or wherever they are, and deport them into a country that they might not even speak the language or know nothing about, and say, no, now you have to go there because your parents, for whatever reason, came here illegally, or didn't have the right documents when you were born, or weren't properly So it's sick to my stomach to see this go on in our country.
Now, let me ask you this because this is like this could be a very scary situation if it is how I think it is. Now, what I understand is that when this goes into effect, I believe supposed to be in 30 days is when it kicks in. Um, what state you're in will determine whether or not you have citizenship rights. Is that how you understand this thing?
Well, it's basically it goes and they
Because it
took
kicks
away
it to the states, right?
they took away the judge's jurisdiction oversight. So right now the way we have it is set up in our country is basically, so if a judge, let's say in Maryland, and again, this is also an iffy subject because both the Republicans and the Democrats have used this loophole in our federal judge system for their politicization. So it's how they use it, but now it's gone away, and it could get a lot worse the way Trump starts using it. So basically, if a judge in Maryland said, okay, I'm ruling that right now you can't, DACA or whatever ruling is, it goes federally across all the states. Now it's basically doesn't work that way. Now, if you're live in Florida and say there's a case in Maryland, and the judge in Maryland says one way, the judge in Florida says another way, it depends on what state you live in, is what's going to happen to your immigration status, if you're going to get deported, if you're going to be allowed to stay in this country.
Lev, is this going to strip people? Like, let's say for right now, let's say there's a 15-year-old kid who was born here, but his parents are undocumented, right? He's born here, so he has citizenship. Does this strip him of his citizenship?
That's where they allow the process to, yes. I mean, it doesn't automatically strip them, but that's what now they allowed the Trump organization, and basically, I call it the organization, not even the administration, but that's what it's allowing him to basically go into now, do and take away people's citizenship, basically, of kids that were born here that because they are might have been to undocumented parents.
In your opinion, who do you think is behind this policy?
I
In
mean,
the Trump administration?
it's obvious, and it's I've been talking about it already for months. It's Stephen Miller, it's Russell Vaughn, and now it's Susie Weil, and then you got the enablers like Pam Bondi and the Cash Patels, and and Pete Hexegs, that they serve different uh, roles. You have people that are building the agenda, then you have people that are pushing the agenda, and then you have people that are administrating the agenda. And Donald Trump is the face of all of it. So it's very, very scary and very dangerous what's going on. And when we talk about saying, are we leading? When everybody talks about, are we going into a constitutional crisis? Are we going into? No, no, we are in a constitutional crisis. We have lost certain constitutional rights that we've been fighting for as Americans for so long. Just think about it, Brooke. 6 months ago, 7 months ago, the number one topic that we all spoke about, which we don't even bring up anymore and don't even talk about, was women's rights. I mean, we don't even talk about it. That's gone. I mean, Roe
Yeah.
versus Wade. I mean, that was the number one topic, and we don't even talk about it. As a father of three daughters and a husband, and I have sisters, and I mean, that is amazing. How he took away women's rights. It's also again state by state. There are states there women are dying, doctors are getting arrested. News doesn't talk about, media doesn't talk about. It's a right that he took away. Now you're talking about natural born citizens to say, look what he's been doing the past several months. We have masked men running around with no ID, grabbing people off the street, not only people, but citizens, American citizens, let alone just
Yeah.
immigrants, where, that's bad enough to do what they're doing, but they're grabbing American citizens and they're getting people on vacation. There was a story of a woman from Chile in New York City with her 12-year-old daughter on vacation sightseeing, and she was walking by a raid. They grabbed her, threw her in. She was and left her 12-year-old daughter on the street, and she was legally here on vacation just because she was brown, because she fit the mold, and nobody's even asking questions. So I mean, yeah, we're living. He's breaking our constitutional crisis. We are in a constitutional crisis. This is called authoritarianship. This is what dictatorship looks like, folks. So unless we do something now, unless we get up and start talking and raising our voices and screaming at the top of our lungs to our senators, congressmen. I mean, and you got Republicans that are starting to. I mean, they're starting to turn on him. You got look at Massey. Massey's going to war. Thomas Massey is going full out war right now in between mega between him, Trump, JD Vance. It's on. We got to get guys like that over right now. It's not because it shouldn't be about policies right now, Brooklyn. That it shouldn't be about opinions. We should be all one Americans. We should all be human beings. We should all be for humanity, to stop dictatorship, to get our country back, so we could debate policies and what we like, because right now there's no debate. It's one way or the highway. Either you follow what Donald Trump says, or you're going to end up in a third world country somewhere, or in a cell.
Let me ask you this, Lev, because I and most of our audience here have been watching Trump and the things that he does in his administrations, like from the outside in, right? You, however, have had a unique perspective in your life from being able to see things from the inside. You were basically a part of that inner circle. Um, how different is the Trump that we see in the White House today versus the guy that you knew years ago when you were part of that circle?
Oh, he's two different people. So it's the Trump that came into it. So he was always a narcissist. He was always bad. He was always had the intention. So that didn't change. The difference is when he came in 2016, he was like that little naive boy that came in that thought he could do things, but didn't know the system, trusted people, got burned plenty of times, but was like, but I still want it my way. You know what I mean? Still defiant, still what's it called? But he was still there. There was places where he was moldable. Now you see a Donald Trump that is unhinged, unleashed, and to a degree where there's, well, you also have to look back then. You had certain guardrails around him. You had certain people, even people he put into office, even people that would be recommending him. Everybody around. You even had, like, from the simplest fact, you had Ivanka, which out of all his kids is the most sane one. If you had to choose out of all of them, Junior, Eric, and Ivanka, I choose Ivanka. And you might like him, you might hate him,
Right.
but if you had to
Yeah.
go with that. But now he doesn't have Ivanka. He has does he have a junior? He has Junior and Eric running around trying to make money on the Trump name. So I'm saying to you, it's the people that are around him. If you take a look who was with him in 2016 and who is there now you have architects like Stephen Miller. You have masterminds like Susie Wiles. You know what I'm saying to you? And then you have loyalists. Back then he didn't have all these loyalists. He had people there that thought they had their own, agendas. They that some were aligned with Trump, but some were didn't align with Trump. Now he has everybody that it's his way or the highway. So it's a lot more danger. I mean, now he's in a full flow dictatorship. Plus, now he knows what he can or cannot do. He has learned. He was taught. He was taught very well, how that you could look at a law one way or the other. He was taught how you interpret the Constitution. He was taught. So now it's not just about that. And the other thing is that because of certain moves that he's made, he has put himself in our country and in the world in a very dangerous position by the way he's playing on the international stage, because before he was also timid. He was learning because Donald Trump was not an international guy. He wasn't the guy that travels around the world, businesses all over the world, meeting all the. He was a American guy that had a couple of golf courses and some casinos. He was known in New York until he became the apprentice, and then he was known in more in America whatsoever. But he wasn't. He was never. He was like, he's pissed off at the Europeans mostly because he was never invited to Davos, where the big conference were for all, financial. So, he
Right.
is way over his head, but he's a lot more dangerous because now he has enablers around him, he has loyalists around him, there's no guardrails around him, and he also has the control of not only the army, the FBI, the marshals, I mean, you name it down. I
The
mean, he has
DOJ.
the
Yeah.
DOJ, the prisoner bureaus, I mean, you name it, and the way he's throwing out pardons, you see. I mean, it's just we're living exactly where I ran from, which was the Soviet Union. If you want to see, I mean, even Russia right now is not like in Russia. You could go get an abortion. Women have more rights in Russia than you could get than we have in the
Oh
United States.
no.
Just think about that. Just think about that. Like that's how crazy it is right now.
Wow. Let me ask you, in your opinion, right? This ruling that was handed down today, um, is there a way that liberals can um, can flip this back on them? And let me give you a for instance, right? So since this kind of weakens the birthright citizenship of the 14th Amendment, what about the Second Amendment? Yeah, what if there's a case that you know that hits the Second Amendment that limits, people's rights to use it from state to state? If they're going to do that with birthright citizenship, why can't we do that with the Second Amendment, state to
Because,
state?
because I'll give you the simplest answer because we don't control the Supreme Court. I mean, there you go. I, I mean, Pam Bondi today came out and said the quiet out loud. She said, we're waiting for our rulings in October about birth citizenship. She goes, and I believe it's going to be a positive. I mean, they speak to each other. I mean, this is not this is see people most people think that there's barriers that because you're a Supreme Court judge. I mean, look at all the stuff that comes out. I mean, these are people that die together. together, eat together, talk together, especially now since Trump has come into power, the barriers have been broken to say, I mean, they do it out in the open. That there is, I mean, how can they? I mean, I agree with you. They should, but they can't. The one thing that's why I say we should concentrate right now, and because I was on the inside, and because I know him very well, I'm telling you how and I'm telling everybody right now, the most important thing is unifying our message, and stop getting unified, and stop all these different divisions inside the party, divisions against each other. Stop worrying about policy for a second. Stop worrying about what SCOTUS did, what this one did. Stop for a second, because that's what he has you chasing around, going afterward while he's defying everything. What we need to do is we need to get some leadership. We need somebody to stand up and start unifying and go out there and take Massey. Go speak to Don Bacon. Go speak to Valerdo out in California. Go speak to Fitzpatrick. All we need is 5, 6 people. It's not that, and we already have them. I just named 5 of them right there. Go get them. They're already on the Trump shit list. They're already against him. There's plenty more against the big, beautiful bill. Join forces and stop the craziness. Convince them to go out, start real investigations, maybe start an impeachment. Not that I'm saying that by impeaching him, you're going to be able to actually convict him. No, but at least it'll stop him from continuing the craziness, because right now it's a runaway train. He's just basically
Don't you
doing what
think?
everyone. um,
Don't you think impeachment would backfire on us? I mean, it's especially if there's zero chance of him being convicted by the Senate.
Not if the Republicans are with us. Not if the Republicans in Congress agreed, is used that in a way of stopping him, investigating him. Stop. What I'm saying right now, if we, this, everybody's talking about waiting until 2026. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? I'll give you an outline. If we get to 2026, and when I say get there, he allows us to vote there without doing martial law or some crazy thing to stop because I truly believe he's going to do something. But let's assume that we are get there and we're able to vote, and let's assume we do win the House. What do you think the first thing all the Democrats are going to do? What do you think Adam Schiff, the first thing they're going to do? They're going to put out impeachments on. So he's done so many impeachable things that you can't not start impeaching him. So it's going to become. So what I'm saying is, why wait till 2026? Right now, what I'm saying is, if we get 4 or 5 Republicans to come join with us, not about policy, not about switching what's it called, parties. No, we're not talking about. We're talking about just to unite to stop Donald Trump, to hold back the reins, to allow there to be elections in 2026, to allow there to be, to save the Constitution, to maybe push, like you said, the Second Amendment right, to push back at someone. Because right now, by the way, somebody said Andy Bashir. That's my guy. I really think also I'm actually going to probably have try to get him on my Substack, because I think Andy Bashir is definitely somebody
For the
that
governor, yeah.
the governor of Kentucky, yeah,
Mhm.
somebody, so definitely. But what I'm saying to you is, we need somebody to come up right now. It's not about, party, or it's not about policy. It's about humanity right now. It's about saving what we have left of our country, dignity. I mean, because right now, a little bit longer like this, if we do this a little longer, I mean, there's nothing. I mean, voting for what? He's gonna destroy all our constitutional rights.
Let me just back up a bit because there's a lot you just said right now to unpack. First of all, when you said, here's what bugs me, right? Is that when you said uh, that he could declare martial law and deny us 2026 election. And that didn't automatically register in my head as the craziest, most impossible thing I've ever heard. Right? That's terrifying that I can't debate you on that. Right? Um, Earlier when you mentioned Democrats need to get on the same page with messaging. Um, in my opinion, the biggest threat to America right now, to Americans, is this big beautiful bill, which I call the big deadly bill, because there's so much that he's taking away from Americans to give to the rich. Isn't that something that we can kind of unite around as far as that being our battering ram for 2026? And if not, what is the message?
Well, first of all, I agree with you 100%. I think the big beautiful bill, or disaster bill, whatever you want to call it, I think that's somewhere where we need to begin. It's already there. You already have a lot built in, even though a lot of it from the other side could be fake because they're opposing it for different reasons, but they're opposing it. You know what I'm saying to you? So
Yeah.
there's definitely room to negotiate. So when I say the same message, what I'm saying to you is get on the same side. I'm saying to you, make sure stop trying to have these little parties here, little message here, little group here. Unite, strength. Take a look, and this is what I'm talking about because one thing I was in that mega world. I was one of the leaders in that party, and you'll see the differences. I'll give you, and it's not just the leadership, but the leadership that stems down all the way into the social platforms that you have. Because you take a look at the mega Republicans sites. If one of them if Trump comes out and says something, they all come out and join. They support. They what's it called? They put the message out there. If there's one of their if it is attacked, they all support. They join. On our side, it's like, how do I explain to you? It's like we eat our own. We go after our own constantly, and
Yeah.
again, and what I'm saying to you is that's not a bad thing because it's right because we don't pay. We shouldn't have favoritism. There should be equal, but right now it's not the time. Right now,
Right.
there'll be a time for that. There'll be a time for Jake Tapper to run around and say Biden was the auto.
God damn it.
Absolutely, I'm not disagreeing with you. We should know that as
Yeah.
Americans. I'm not defending him. I'm not saying, but now's not the time. Now's not the time to run these stories or do that. Now's not the time to attack, me or somebody else that was on the inside of Donald Trump because of what's it called. Because now's not. You could do it afterwards and say, well, I don't, and we don't have to like each other, but we could unite to save our
Right.
country. So that's what the message is. It's unification. It's standing together. It's standing against whatever his message is, and not trying to put each other down. Just think about the elections of all the cutthroat behind the scenes that happened between the Bidens and Kamala Harris and Clooney coming out and the Obama saying this, and I mean, just think about all that crazy shit that was going on. It's division. We need to stop that. And right now, we don't have any leaders. There's no leader in the Democratic Party. I mean, you have AOC, you have Bernie running around doing it, but they're not
Chris
the leader.
Murphy.
No,
Chris Murphy. Maybe.
no, no.
Amy Pritzker.
I mean,
Gavin Newsom.
See, Gavin Newsom, Trump's scared of him right now. Gavin Newsom, that's why he's targeting him. So Gavin Newsom's going to get a lot, but Gavin Newsom is also, I think he played himself a little bit. I see how if the American people forget that quickly, but how he came out with Steve Bannon and uh,
Charlie Kirk.
yeah, now
Yeah.
he is so again. He's definitely somebody that could step up, but he has a lot of baggage also. So you know what I'm saying to you. I like what's his name from Kentucky.
Oh, Andy Bashir.
Bashir. I think,
Yeah.
he's a Democrat. He's in a Republican state, red state. He's somebody that doesn't have the baggage. He comes from a family that has the pedigree, and he's well centered. He's not too far left. He's not too far right. And that's why I think we need the country to get back to. We need to get away from that because we've gotten to a point on both sides. You know what I'm saying to you? And again, I'm not against, rights, equal rights to everybody and everything. But again, there has to be common sense and there has to be a little bit, especially when you're trying to save your democracy, when you're trying to say, what I'm saying to you, it's like you can't put out, when there's a big fire, you can't go start putting out all the little fires. You got to put out the big fire first and then you can go out, put out the little flames all over. If you're going to start trying to put out the little flames while you're trying to put out the big one, you're going to get eaten up alive. And that's what's happening. You know what I'm
Let,
saying to you? I'm sorry.
yeah. Let me ask you this because earlier you said that it would, in order for us to, let's say we were going to pursue impeachment of Trump, right, to stop him in his tracks. Um, in order for us to do that, we would obviously need some Republicans, with us along for that ride. What on earth would it take to bring Republicans on board with us? Because right now they're all scared shitless of him, right?
Well, he's doing it himself. That's what I'm saying to you. We just need somebody to come out with it. He's doing it himself. Look, Thomas Massey, He's done. He's done out of. He can't go back to MAGA because he's full fledged war all day long. JD Vance, all of MAGA's against him. Somebody needs to
Yeah.
come. Hakeem Jeffries, anybody. I don't know. Come talk to him and say, listen, you're voting against this. So we got. You see, he's a madman. We need to stop him. Put a game plan together. I'm talking out of my ass right now and just saying 30,000 feet, but there's strategic game plans how they could put together. Same thing with Don Bacon. Don Bacon, I got sources telling me, is looking to retire because he has death threats from Mega because he went against Trump several times. What's it called?
Wow.
So, I'm saying to you, so there are the people in there that want to do it. I mean, and trust me when I tell you, Hakeem Jeffries and people in Congress, they know who they are better than you or I know who they are. That's why, somebody needs to step up and have these conversations and not wait till 2026 to go out there and start waiving these impeachments and start these investigations and all of this. Because, see, the problem is, what a lot of the Democrat leadership doesn't realize that Trump knows this. He knows this is what they're going to do. So why do you think he's going to allow you to just go do it? He knows you're going to come after him. He knows especially what he's doing right now. He knows that you want him even worse because he's breaking everything, all of your what's it called. So that is why just think about it. Today we still have armed guard, the National Guard in Los Angeles. We don't have no demonstrations. We don't have any riots. We don't have, but we have the National Guard because Trump is still trying to liberate Los Angeles. It's a statement. It's part of a process which then you're going to already get used to. So when the American people are used to the National Guard being deployed, no problem, because now it's not like once in a, it's never happened before because it's just happening regularly
It's
all of a
it's
sudden.
that was one of the craziest things I've seen, and I've seen a shitload of crazy things. One of our viewers said, Francis says, if January 6th did not get him impeached, come on. Um, but watching Senator Padilla get uh, cuffed and and detained. Uh, that was insane. Watching the military, the Marines get called out for some protesters in California. Come on, I mean, this is crazy stuff. This is like Banana Republic stuff.
But Brooklyn, that I'm glad you said January 6th didn't get impeached. The only reason Donald Trump didn't get impeached, the only reason Donald Trump didn't is not sitting in prison,
Or
is because
convicted. Yeah,
no, even sitting in prison because our leadership and the Democratic Party wants things, and I know very well because I've been close with a lot of them since I've been testifying on behalf and stuff like that in Congress. So trust me when I tell you, is the perception for them. See, where Trump doesn't care about perception. They care about perception more, like the optics of how is it going to look, like
yeah,
to make it look right for the people. And Trump knows that, and that's what we use. That's what I was in May. That's what Trump uses against them. That's why, like Merrick Garland, was wasting all that time not to go after, getting Trump indicted by putting these special counselors, making that whole scene with that Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. I mean, there is so many things that like Trump would never allow any of that to happen in his administration. That Biden, and so I don't want to go into bad mouthing Biden or talk about how the administration because it's not about that. Again,
right.
there's a time. But what I'm saying to you is, it's hard to fight when you're in a boxing ring and you're gonna only use your hands. Meanwhile, the guy you're fighting against is kicking you, biting you, doing whatever, and he's beating your ass, and you're allowed to, but you want to say, but I'm all, see guys, but I'm only hitting him.
God
I'm not
damn it,
using my feet, but you're already on the ground. Nobody cares.
dude,
They're like,
dude.
that's where we're at. That's what.
Oh man, I'm so glad you said that because I've been feeling like, that is one of the biggest problems that we face right now is that the other side is willing to fight dirty, basically. And we have to, we have to get down and get dirty to get it done. That's what it's going to take right now. And you're also 100% right about uh being concerned about appearances. I've heard a lot of criticism of the Democratic Party, people saying that, we're trying to calculate our appearance, our the things that we say to be too perfect. And yeah, just be real. Just be real and come out and fight. That's what I think. What Democrats want to see.
The key you said, be real. That's the key word, be real. Just come out and fight and be
Yeah,
real and just let your voices be heard. You know what I'm saying to you? Because Donald Trump, and that's why I always said to him, he gives enough ammunition himself. You don't have to go look for it. It's like, I'll never forget in the beginning when I was part of Mega, I used to laugh at the Democrats because we would sit there and say, here you got Donald Trump,
yeah,
so for instance, stealing $1 billion. And instead of you going concentrating on the crime that we just committed, you're trying to find a P tape. You're trying to find a P tape and trying to make that the issue like you don't know if it even exists, but you're trying to find something. Meanwhile, we're giving you something and you're ignoring it. And it's just like it was amazing to watch how you could dangle different carrots because they would go after. But it was also you have to keep in mind Donald Trump's a different breed. See, the Democrats aren't used to fighting these. Even like the Republicans aren't used to because Donald Trump's not a Republican. Just think about the debates. If you would go back to the debates, even the beginning when he debated all the Republicans, like Jeb Bush and all of them, they
yeah.
were because they're not used to it. They're coming up there, suit and tie, the American public. You have to be all presidential like. And this guy's talking about little hands, Marco Rubio. These guys, these guys don't know. These guys don't know what the hell is going on. They're like, oh shit, I did study this. I wasn't prepared for this. It's like just think about what he said to the reporter. Israel,
Yeah,
and they don't know what the f they're doing. That poor
yeah.
reporter almost had a heart attack. So that's why I say, and that's why even in the first impeachment, I'm going to go back for a second, where I blame Adam Schiff and for big mistakes that they made, is because they concentrated on trying to bring in, even though yes, you need to bring in the Vindmans, and others that had the pedigrees. But you need to bring in people like me. You need to bring in Rudy Giuliani. You need to bring in people that were actually, because if I truly believe that if everything that now is uncovered would have started being uncovered about Ukraine and Russian disinformation and everything, they wouldn't have had no. It would have been a different thing. Both.
Wow, they didn't bring you in for the first one.
No, they used my
What?
evidence. They used my evidence. They took. I gave them evidence out of the 300 evidence of impeachment. 100 of them are my text messages, emails. I gave them all, but they didn't call me. So Chuck Schumer, they tried to call me in the Senate hearing, me and
Right.
Bolton, but it was too late already. That's when already the Senate shut it down. The Republicans wouldn't call witnesses. So what I'm saying to you is if they would have heard me, if they would have heard Bolton, if they would have heard Giuliani, you know what I'm saying to you? But instead they brought in like, Fiona Hill, they brought in Vindman, which are all, again, nothing, these are all astute and proper, but these are people that never sat in a room with Donald Trump. They've never, all of them listened to one phone call and they made about this one phone call. But when there was so much more there on the ground, the espionage, the conversations, the stuff that was going on, they just, because, you know, that's also something that we one day we need to talk about why they
Yeah.
didn't do what they didn't do. But again, it's not the time, not the place. Right now, it's one voice, one message. That's what's going to beat them. That's what we need to get around. That's what we need to. We need some leadership to go out there, get some of these guys like Messi and Bacon and others, start the conversation going. Don't try to wait till 2026. That's my message because I truly believe that knowing him the way I know him, knowing the administration, because I know Pam Bondi personally, I know Cash, I know all of these people very well. I was with them. I lived it, and I see it in their eyes. I see it the way they're talking. I see it in their voices. I see it in their actions. And what I'm seeing is very scary because I don't believe that they're going to put their faith of their future, of their liberty, of their finances into the vote of the American people after everything they're doing. So that is why I say we need to act now and not wait.
Let me ask you this, Lev. And I'm going to make this brief because I do have to bounce. But has anyone from the Democratic Party reached out to you in terms of strategizing or just to kind of tap you for ideas?
On the contrary, every time I try to help them, it's like, because like I said, that I don't fit the mold. I'm not that. I don't. I'm not that polished. Pedigreed. Served in the Navy, whatever, to be able to go out there. But what they don't understand, and that's the message, is what my pedigree is that I know him better than others.
Yeah,
I've been in the rooms. I know them. I've sat there. I've learned that. I know the act. I could say, I could tell you, like, just by watching when he's sitting there in the Oval, and by his reactions, I could tell you sometimes what he's thinking. I mean, it's crazy, but it's when you know somebody, that's what it is. When you don't have to guess, when you don't have to just. So that's the problem. That's what I tell them. That's what I mean. One message. Yes, we need to unite. I'm out here. Just think about risking my freedom. I'm still on supervised release. Donald Trump's still the DOJ, and I'm out here speaking up, risking everything to be able to get the message out, to make sure. And thank God to our subscribers, to our platform, our voices are being heard. Some of the media, but the media is not the same anymore. They're all corrupted. They're all, Donald Trump got them so scared and shaking. Look at what he's doing to poor Natasha Bertrand right now. She's a really great journalist. I
yeah,
know personally, incredible.
yeah,
And now, he's threatening going after. I mean, so there is, we're at a place where, but we should, and I know you have a loud voice also. We all need to speak up to them. They need to start listening, and if they want to win and save our democracy, we need people like that know Donald Trump on the inside, coordinating and figuring out, strategizing of how to move forward, and not just sitting there. And I mean, just think about it. Kamala Harris was never in the same room with Donald Trump until her first debate. Just
yeah,
think about that,
yeah. Lev, I want to thank you for not just for being here with me today, but especially for being here with me today, but also for what you've been doing in general. Just ever since you entered like the public eye, yeah, you made some mistakes, but you totally like not only did you own up to your mistakes, but you've done everything you could to kind of correct those mistakes and to stand up and and do what you can to help save our democracy. So I appreciate you and your efforts. Where can people find you? Not just Substack, but are there other places?
Yeah, thank you, brother. And I'm all over the place, but my home is Substack. This is where I speak truth to power. This is where I do my writing. This is where I do my lives, and this is where I speak of. So, if you want to really hear, definitely subscribe to my Substack. Definitely subscribe to Brooklyn Dad. And subscribe to all the independent journalists out there on this platform. And you need to spend some more time with us out here. Come spend. It's an incredible community. Your voice needs to be heard. You have incredible interviews, so bring him on here, and we need him on our community here. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. And folks, thank you for joining us for this live episode of Defiant Dispatches with my friend Lev Parnas. I hope you guys have a wonderful Friday and an excellent weekend. Peace.
Peace. Have a great day, guys.